everyone, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you're not, thanks so much for coming back and following along as I speed through the process of putting together 2 spreads for my February 2019 Project Life album. Prior to recording, I printed out all the photos and put them in the order that I wanted them to be in, and I put them in their pockets just so that they would stay put. And I started with the February title card, and I'm using the cardstock backing from the stickers from the Out and About collection by Pink Fresh Studio and a Creative Bubble. And I cut it to be 4x6, and eventually I did glue down the February cork and gold month by Studio Calico. So you saw me earlier on change out the middle card from the Love It one to this one because I like the colors on this one and I felt like it wasn't competing as much. It was a little bit too busy for this spread. And this new card, I like that it's pointing towards both cats, and I have it pointing up to the top because I wanted the title to be, what your eye is drawn to, as opposed to the tamales. I mean, the tamales were really good, but I just wanted, the main focus to be the February. And the tags that I chose were these craft ones from Target. I believe they were from the dollar spot. I liked them because they were nice and subtle and they weren't competing with the card itself. So I'm just journaling a couple of lines per photo. Chloe's still obsessed with the iPad. She's been obsessed with the iPad for, I want to say a couple of years. And Maya is obsessed with the heated floors, which we have here in Germany. And this is a little princess who absolutely loves laying on her tower, but in the wintertime, she likes the heated floors and she won't even get up for us. I wanted to add some embellishments to this card, and I chose these Felicity Jane chipboard hearts. And if you like them, then I suggest you run, don't walk, over to felicityjane.com, as they are for sale for $1 for the little jar of chipboard hearts, and you can find them in the last chance category in the shop. This one, as you can see, it's got a little bit of gold, and the other one's just like a blush color, and I believe there's one that's like a light brown, if I'm remembering correctly. This card still seems to be lacking a little something, but I figured that the good stuff tag went better with the tamales, and I was gonna pull out the photo, but I realized that I hadn't glued down the February yet, and I sped through that because nobody needs to see me gluing something down for 15 seconds. Then I remembered that the first photo also needs a little tag, a little bit of journaling, so I just picked out a yellow one that wasn't going to compete with anything else, and glued it and attached it with a tiny attacher. Now we can go ahead and put them in their pockets. Except for the middle one, because I don't think that one is quite done yet, and I'm taking out the photo and the little triangles and trying to figure out where they best fit. So I'm just going to add the date with the roller stamp and some gray ink, and then I'm going to journal a few lines about how we made the tamales in the Instant Pot for my first time, but my mom's already a pro at this. And then I'm just going to adhere everything to the photo. So next I'm just going to add a little bit of journaling onto this photo. I'm looking for another yellow tag to match the one up top, and I'm going to date it and date it crooked and in the center so it wouldn't leave a lot of room. So I pulled out another one and it was still crooked, so I wanted to crop off the bottom anyway, so I just flipped it and put the date and then trimmed it. And before I pop it back into its pocket, I wanted to add a staple to the arrow, and I adhered and stapled the yellow label to the photo room as well. Moving on to the next page, for the first picture, we're on our way to Paris on the train, so I wanted to use the train stamp from one of the Everyday Explorers Christine Heron stamp collections. And I'm just prepping the stamp here, and then I'm testing it on a scrap piece of paper, and I realized that I need to make sure that this is stamped on a flat surface. Okay, so I'm just gonna trim it to size, make sure that it fits nicely in the photo. And then I just took out all the stuff that is like travel related. I tend to organize things usually by what they are, but since this is such a big mix, I organized it by the theme. Since we have been traveling quite a bit, I figured I wanted them all in one place. I want to add some journaling to this photo, and right now I don't have a white pen, so I just pulled out this little notepad that came in with the Ellie Edwards travel collection from last year, and I just trimmed it down to size and I journaled on it. I'm just gonna tape these two photos together so they don't move around much in the pocket. I'm almost done with this page, but I want to add a stamp to the large photo, but I don't think that the white will stand out enough. It's not dark enough, so I stamped another one of the Everyday Explorer stamps, and I wanted to punch a circle around it. Stick it on using the tape glider. I gotta say, it's not my favorite. I know people love it, but sometimes I find it difficult to use. It just will not stick properly, and then it'll just bunch up. I really wanted to use the stamp that says, "Oh my god, I think I love this place already," from the Everyday Explorers New Adventures stamp set, because that's how I felt as soon as we got to Paris, like just starting off with the train station. So what I'm stamping it on is just a plain piece of cardstock that I cut to 3x4. Next, I'm stamping First Impressions, also from the same stamp kit, but I want to add some alphas as well. And so I chose the ones that are red and pink from Studio Calico. And I don't know if you can tell, but the letters were not straight across. Some of them were higher than others, and I didn't like that at all. So I removed them, and I decided to go with these gold alphas that are American Craft, and I got them at Target. And I realized that it wasn't exactly centered, and so I thought maybe I could add a bigger alpha, but I just decided to go with them being a little bit off center. Not a big deal. And I just gave up on that card finally, and I'm like, I'm just sticking it in, it's done, it's complete, end of story. I was gonna add one of the Felicity Jane hearts on there as well, but then I saw this heart that said this on it, so that's the one I went with instead. Moving on to the next page, and the next day we had breakfast at La Durée, and it was absolutely amazing. The eggs were fantastic. I had a taste of my husband's French toast, and it just melted in your mouth. The tea was delicious. Everything was amazing. Next up, I'm looking for a label to add some journaling to the card. I found these creamier blush labels that I want to use in the spread, so not just on this page, but for other journaling on the other side as well. I realized that I forgot to date the previous page, so I stamped it, and then I stamped the label for the next day and glued it down and trimmed the excess off. So I just jotted down a few of my thoughts from that day, and then I taped the card and the photo together so that they wouldn't shift around in their pocket. The Epic Ephemera is from the Pinkfresh Studio In a Creative Bubble Out and About collection. It's layered with foam circles in between each layer, so I removed one of the foam circles to flatten it out a little bit and adhered it to the outside of the pocket for a little bit more dimension. Oh, and I trimmed one of the edges because I wanted it to fit and not block the pastries. This blush tag is from the Target Dollar Spot, and I trimmed it so I could add some journaling to the spiral staircase photo without blocking too much of the spiral. And ideally I would have used the white pen to journal either on the Arc de Triomphe photo or on the spiral staircase photo, but since I don't have one, we're just gonna use what we've got. And FYI, I switched over to the Sharpie because the pens, they were smudging, including the precision pen. For extra texture, I wanted the twine on the outside, so I used some foam dots to adhere the tag onto the outside of the pocket. And then just trim the ends. I felt like this picture was missing a little something, so I wanted to look for specifically really love. And so I pulled out a few that I liked, and then I narrowed it down. Before deciding which love I wanted to go with, I wanted to label this photo with the name of the bridge, which was Alexander III. And I also added a little geotag to the label. I swapped out the Wee 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 card for the Love It card because I wanted to add some journaling about the rest of the day, and I didn't feel like that card had much room for journaling. I tried that Let's Wander, but same thing. It wasn't gonna leave me enough room for journaling. So I'm using instead the Travelogue Ephemera from the Out and About collection by Pinkfresh Studios, and I journaled on the card, glued it down, trimmed the excess. And I'm not sure if you noticed, but I went with the Love Wood veneer. I wanted something that wasn't too colorful. Back to the journaling card, I felt like it was missing a little bit something. I found a cute little label that had a little bit of rainbow that matched with the macarons. So I stamped a date on it, glued it down, and called it a spread. So I moved my album aside because I was thinking that I was going to need to use my fuse tool to customize this page protector for the larger photos, and then I realized that I just had to cut it. I grabbed my album and put the photos in the album. The evening photo looked a little plain, so I thought about adding a gold hello chipboard sticker from Becky Higgins, and I wasn't sure, so I FaceTimed my sister. I was like, hey, what do you think? And she was like, totally. Well, not really. She was like, yeah. And so I added it. I was a little hesitant because I wanted the photos to stand on their own. And then I realized that this one was too busy for the front, so I just flipped over the photos. Anyhow, that's it for these two spreads. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, click on that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you. Bye.